Well, one of those things you don't plan. But fire is also a public policy issue, and it has so many legal elements. However, I'm not claiming to, I don't want to insert fire into that field so much, because when I got there, I didn't know. I just saw an advert in a newspaper back in London, and I was looking for a job. Then I applied. So I joined the London Fire Brigade, did some basic training, and then I was placed into a department called Community Fire Safety, which deals with enforcement and compliance with fire safety regulations. London being a very big city, there was a lot of work. Running around, looking at different premises. MuGOLDS International has got two founders, myself, Ignatius Mugabo, and my business partner, Richard Golds. So there you can see the name MuGOLDS is a concoction of our two names. Because when we got here in Rwanda around 2009, we looked at different names, and some of them were very familiar, just a little bit of change. And then we said, why don't we just combine a bit of our names, Muga and Golds? Yeah. So we just went on with it. So the history of MuGOLDS is very interesting, because it dates back in 2007. There was a fire incident here in Kigali. At that time, I was based at a station called Euston, which is in central London, and it's not actually very far from the Rwandan embassy. It's just up the road, where the embassy is based. So there was an incident in Kigali. I think it was Rwanda Education Board. They had a fire incident. I read it in the newspapers while at work, and called our ambassador. I asked him whether he has seen it. I think he told me he hadn't, but I brought his attention to it. Then I was like, yeah, this kind of situation is going to grow anyway, given the current development in Rwanda. So we continued with discussion with our ambassador at the time, and he picked interest. He actually picked interest, because there were just a few fire incidents here and there here in Rwanda. There were not very many at the time, but something was happening. So he picked interest, and we discussed. We had more discussions about it, and he invited me to the embassy. We had a discussion. I invited him to my station. Quite interesting. I have moved from Euston to another station called Tottenham in north of London, and I invited him. I just, all right, okay, if you're interested, just come and see what we do. So the ambassador came. The station was very excited because it was the first time to host an ambassador. So it became a big event. So he came, and we displayed our equipment and showed him what we do. The station management was very cooperative, and he went back, and we continued the discussion. What do we do? Is there any way London Fire Brigade can help build this kind of infrastructure back in Rwanda? We tried that, but the Fire Brigade was not helpful, because they didn't have international operations. They just focused on protecting London. And we even tried the fire service college. The ambassador was writing letters. Yes. And then it didn't work. They all, basically it didn't work. The long and short of it didn't work. And then one time we came up with an idea. I said, look, why don't we visit Rwanda as private people? I get a few of my colleagues, and then we'll go and visit and see what's happening. Yeah, he agreed to the idea, and I got two friends, Richard and and Raz. So we came first to Uganda. We had been invited to Uganda for, there was a fire safety, there was a big fire that had happened, and we were supposed to go there and advise the Ugandan government. Then from there we came here as well. Had a meeting with people, city of Kigali, the police chief, RDB. You know, we started this discussion, and eventually MuGOLDS was born.
Generally speaking, fire awareness is important to keep everybody safe. And also, by doing that, you are keeping the people, your beloved people, your family, your friends, your work colleagues. And when we're looking at places like Rwanda, fire awareness could actually make a big impact on the actual development of the country.
Fire safety is a culture that is inculcated into the people right from when they were young. In most African countries, Rwanda inclusive, that culture does not exist. Yeah, we just see fire as one of those incidents happening, maybe, you know, under the control of God or something like that, some power that we cannot deal with or we have no control over. So that was the situation here, but there was some semblance of fire safety infrastructure. There was a department within the police that was responsible for firefighting. A very small team. We had a meeting with the team at the time. They had about 4 or 5 fire engines sitting here in Kigali, and those fire engines were expected, and that team and their equipment was expected to cover the entire country. We found that as inadequate, and we started advising responsible institutions on how this can change. And the change up to now has been massive, absolutely massive. There is a trained team, still small, but we did some training engagement with the Rwandan National Police, and they have continued to expand, and now it's a bit more bigger than it was before, and more trained a little bit. Of course, they still need some improvement, but the change has been massive. We've worked also with the private sector, the banks, the industries, insurance companies, and tried to show them the role they can play in controlling this fire situation, because fire is not uncontrollable. Something with right measures and strategies in place, it can actually be controlled, and its impact can be reduced. So since that time, I'm talking about 2000, because we went hence and forth, you know, going back to London. He was still working there, and until around 2012. That's really when MuGOLDS started establishing itself and working with the different institutions. So there's been a big change since then.
That's a good question. For me, and for the actual areas and countries that I've dealt with, fire safety is dealt with in the school. So as you know, children are very, very susceptible and like sponges. They take up a lot of information. So on my background and my education started when very, very young. When I was at school, we would have fire drills. We would have firemen and firewomen coming into the school to educate us from time to time, not every day, but periodically. And that's the main thing, David. When you're training somebody in a skill or to acquire a safety, in this case, a safety skill, it needs to be repeated. So And when I say that is periodically the fire engines, the fire marshals, the fire experts would come into the school or any other areas where children frequent, and give them a short, a positive introduction to fire safety, the dangers of fire, and also what to do if you see a fire. So that level where you think it would start possibly 10, 11, actually it's been recorded that 5-6-year-olds in schools, even nurseries, are very respondent to fire safety. And actually the sooner you can get that message to the population, the better.
Our mission is basically defined in one word, two words: fire safety. Then you can add fire safety education and awareness. We've been doing that in our own small way, working with different institutions. We've trained people in fire safety awareness. We've trained people in operational fire safety operations. We've worked with different entities to inculcate that culture that I said was lacking, because fire safety is a culture and everyone has to play a role, right from your own home, to your businesses, up to the institutional level. So you cannot just say it's one person's responsibility or one institution's responsibility. And that's what we want to continue to drive home to different institutions, that fire is a collaborative effort. With good collaboration and with good fire prevention efforts, fire can be managed. Just people have to understand that with development efforts that are being done here, and in many countries, alongside that, there are risks also that come with it. Fire is one of those. We have seen the rise in electricity rollout around the country. We have seen increase in the use of gas in our homes. We have seen increase in electronic equipment that we plug in and out all the time.
A large percentage of household fires are caused by electrical faults. Now, they can be caused by many things: overloading of sockets, overloading of the power cables and sockets in the house. So what I always say is use the equipment that's been installed in your house, or in your workplace, or in wherever you are. Use it properly. Do not overload any of your electrical circuits. Because what happens is, obviously with electricity causes heat, and when it overheats, that's when you can get a spark, that's when you can get a weakness in the cables, and that causes a fire outbreak. And the other side of that, what precautions you should take in your daily life is looking around you, being aware of the dangers around you, possibly caused by fire. If you see something that somebody else hasn't seen, but you think would make a difference if you interacted with them, make sure that you send that message, because they may not be as educated in fire safety as yourself. So the precautions, I think, is the precautions are being generally safe around the home, safe when you're traveling, even in a car, if there's any smoke coming from the engine, or in work, if there's any smoke coming from, say, an AC unit. Be prepared to make that call and call the fire service, and make sure that your superiors know there's an incident happening. So MuGOLDS International are committed to working with whoever is in the country, either whether it be individuals, companies, the government, to make Rwanda a safer place, which hopefully will make the region a safer place, will spread out to East Africa and possibly across the continent. So that's how we're developing MuGOLDS, and that's how we've developed over the last 15 years. And let me just say, we're different in some ways. We have the benefit of a man, Ignatius, who knows what I do, who knows the operational side of it, knows the fire safety side of it, but also our biggest USP, if you like, is we can translate and relate those incidents in a language. Sometimes English is not always, the greatest in technical terms. So with myself and Ignatius and some of our colleagues that have come over to train, we can get that message across where other people have failed.
I want to emphasize one point, that fire safety must be built ground up. People tend to look at the police that is responsible for fire safety or fire fighting. Yes, police is responsible for firefighting, all right? But the best firefighting strategy is prevention, is fire prevention. And that's a responsibility for all of us. Yeah. So don't just wait for firefighting, because by the time you start fighting fires, or by the time the fire has happened, something has been damaged or even destroyed, or even life affected in one way or the other. It can be injuries or even death. So people should understand and take measures to control and prevent fires at their own level, at that basic level. So you don't need firefighting. If we can do fire prevention perfectly, then no need for firefighting. Going forward, we are going to continue to sensitize people, educate people through different media and different channels. And I believe this channel is going to play a very big role in reaching out to the public. However, we're also trying to take this campaign forward. We are looking for partnerships with international companies. We have already had contacts with international companies wanting to venture into the Rwandan market. So we are not selfish. We are not saying, no, don't come. The market is small. No, we say, actually, we need you. Come and let's work together and see how we can take the business of safeguarding people and their property forward. Working with different stakeholders. And that's what MuGOLDS is intending to do going forward. People can interact with us through social media channels, through this channel, the Fire Safety channel. Subscribe. We're going to be placing in many educative videos, and people can look forward to more challenging but also educative stories. We're going to benchmark in different countries with our contacts and see how things are done elsewhere, and then continue to educate the Rwandan public. So they can engage with us basically through the online channels, our website, our social medias, and physically we're based here in Kigali in the Kabeza Remera area, Kanombe sector. But I think the best way is to engage with our social media channels.